Hello, welcome to XML Publisher reporting stuff. In this today's session, we'll discuss about parameterized XML report. So let's understand what are the components required. So the business requirement is design a report to display supplier details. I just want to provide the information of a selected supplier. So here I'll be passing supplier ID as an input, right? So the first thing is what will we require? The first thing is we require a query. Once a query is designed, we have to design the data template. Once the data template is ready, we just need to register as a concurrent program. And once that is done, we'll get the XML, the data XML. And once the data XML is ready, we'll just design our template, register the template, and finally our report will be ready, right? So let me show you the query involved. So this is my query. So it's just very simple query. I'm just passing the vendor ID and I'll get the output. So basic thing is, as a business user, if business user is running this report, they will not know what is vendor ID. They may know what is a vendor name or a vendor number, but they will not know vendor name. Sorry, they will not know vendor ID. But generally, what we prefer to do is we always prefer to pass the IDs. The primary keys, we always prefer to pass the IDs. Okay, but how do we get it? Yes, that will solve it later. Now, but let's try to understand that we are passing the vendor ID to this particular query. Okay, now let's get our data template XML. So our query is ready. Let's understand about our data template XML. So this is my data template XML. So earlier we have discussed about very simple report where we have extracted our FND application user details report. So the only difference here, if you observe, is that I have enabled the parameter section. That's the only difference. Remaining is as it is. Okay. So I just enable the parameter. So for the parameter section, in the parameters is the parent and parameter. In that you mention what are the list of parameters you have it. Parameter name is equal to the user defined parameter name as well as what is the data type of that particular component, that particular parameter, and pass this particular parameter to the query. That's it. Make sure that you mention the colon. Okay, so this is a change you have to mention in the data template. And what is the other thing? So now here our query is ready, data template is ready, and now let's get into our concurrent program. So in the concurrent program level, what is the change we have to do it? So I'm just showing the existing one because we already design, we know what is the steps involved in designing this particular information, but I just want to give a clarity on the report with the parameter stuff. So now XXABC supplier report parameters. So the only difference here, if you observe is click on parameters, and here I have mentioned the parameter as P supplier ID. And the only one important thing is this token has to match with the parameter name what we mentioned. Okay, this prompt is a user understandable one, and here parameter name can be anything, but preferably token and parameter we always generally mention the same thing. Okay, and here I mentioned enter supply details, and the value set I selected the predefined existing value set and made this particular parameter as required. Okay, and coming to the template is very simple. We just get the sample data and create the template. Okay, so now I'll just run the report. Okay, and now mention, so here this is mandatory parameter. Unless you enter the parameter, you will not get the output. I'll just mention this particular parameter ID, submit. Now let's see the output. Okay, sometimes it depends upon the instance, load, and many other stuff. Still running. Okay, click on view output. Yes, we got the output. Okay, now, so as I said, vendor ID is not at all a preferable column for the business user to select, right? So what we have to do for this particular concurrent program, we have to assign a value set. Okay, so now what was the concurrent program here? The parameter what we have selected is the parameter name we selected 10/number, which is a predefined value set. So the best thing what we have to do is for this one, okay, so let's create a value set for this one, which will have the information about vendor ID and vendor name as well as segment one from PO vendors, order by vendor name. Okay, so this query will consider for our value set. Okay, Now, what we have to do? So let the concurrent program is like this. Just close this one. Go to application, validation, validation set. Now create a value set. XXABC supplier list. List of values. I'll just go with 150 as a size. And it's a table type of value set. Table. Okay. And this I'll mention it as purchasing. Purchasing. Now select the table name. PO supplier. Okay, it's not showing here, right? What was the name? PO vendor, sorry. PO vendors. Yes, perfect. PO vendors is part of application name purchasing. How do I know it's a part of application name purchasing? Because the name is starting with PO. So obviously it's a purchase order related one. Now, coming to the value, nothing but what you want to show to the user. We would like to show vendor name to the user, right? Vendor name to the user. And what is the ID? ID we would like to consider it as vendor ID. Nothing but this particular value set when user select vendor name, it will return vendor ID to the XML publisher data template. Okay, user will, for user it will show vendor ID, but it will pass vendor. Sorry, for business user it will show vendor name, but for the program, once you run the report, it will pass a vendor ID to the XML publisher report program. It will generate the output accordingly. Okay, now for the meaning, I'll select segment 1 and order by. I would like to go with order by. I'll go with vendor name. Okay, click on test. The test of completed successfully. Okay, save it. Save it. Copy the value set name. Now what we have to do? We have to change our value set which is available at our concurrent program. XXABC supplier with parameter. Concurrent program parameter, and this is only change. So what we do is when you're designing something, don't try to achieve all the things at a time. Do partial functionality one by one, step by step. You do try to achieve it. Okay. Close it. Now rerun the report. Let's see what happens now. XXABC supplier with parameter. Okay, it's showing very bigger one, but let it be. Now I'll select our name. So here if you observe the description, supplier details. So this column name seems a little bit different for me, but it's okay. Let's select a vendor name. And this is my segment number. Now here it passed. So we selected vendor name, but it is passing vendor ID as like this, right? So what is the vendor ID? You can just try to run the report with this vendor ID and see what it will display. Right? 3G communications. Yes. So the expected way it is passing, and let's see the output whether it will have the appropriate information or not. Okay. So now the only difference is when you want to work with parameterized report, only thing is just make sure that you add up this parameter section, have the appropriate data type and have the appropriate value set and pass the parameter name to your program properly. That's the only difference you have to follow. And sometimes what happens is they may ask you to provide the information about, now let us say we are displaying this report, okay, and assume that your particular your report is having larger number of parameters and you want, and your particular requirement is to display all the list of parameters also here. Now what we do, so this is general requirement you'll come across, right? Now let's say I want to display vendor ID, the parameter, the vendor ID which I selected. Okay, so what I can do, first thing is get the XML, click on diagnostics, click on XML, right? I'll just click on file, save as supplier parameter 1, supplier with, okay, I'll select with this name like this, data.xml. Okay, now I got my XML, right? Data.xml. Yeah. So now here, if you observe, this was our list group, right? This was our list group, nothing but our query which we mentioned. So list will be automatically prefixed followed by the group name, list underscore G underscore supplier. If you observe, list underscore G underscore supplier, this is your row set. For each row set, you'll have a row. So this is my row name, right? And we have a single row. G underscore supplier is a row, and list is nothing but the array of rows like that. Now at the top level, so whenever you have parameter, so it will have above your above our data set, right? So because this was available at the above, right? Simple, the same way it will display. But how do you get the parameter? Very simple. So what you can do is go to the, yeah, enable this one, go to MS Word, enable this plugin if it is not enabled for you, like this, enable it. Now click on add-ins, data, load XML data, and yeah, I think parameters are one, data.xml. Yes. So there are different ways of achieving it. So I'll just click on insert and field. You can just simply click on field also, right? So it doesn't need all the parameters. I just require only single field which was available at the high level. I'll select this one and click on insert. That's it. Close it. And now we can mention supplier name. Of course, this will not print the supplier name. It will print only supplier ID, right? So for that, we have to write another logic, but initially let's achieve like this. Yes, supplier. Actually, it is printing supplier name, but we require supplier ID. We require supplier name, but it is printing supplier ID because that's how it will have the information, right? So how do we achieve it? Yes, we'll try to finish this first, and then I'll show you how do we achieve, how can we print supplier name here rather than displaying supplier ID. How can we display supplier name also? We'll try to show you. Now let's upload. Now we have changed the template. What we have to modify? We just need to re-upload the template. That's it. Click on template. So to upload the template, you have to know what is our template name. So I'll just search with XXABC. It will show the list of templates which are available, and I'll select with parameters template, select this one and re-upload the template. Second RTF. Okay. Now rerun the reports. So submit a new request, click on OK. Don't perform copy operation when you're working with XML reports. That will not work. Okay. Supplier with parameter. Now I'll just select 3G, submit, and let's see what it displays. Yeah, it seems my server is too slow today. Generally, this should not take this much time because we are passing a primary ID, and yeah, it's okay. Click on view output. Yes, perfect. We're able to display the parameter which I pass. But how do I get supplier name? Because I don't want to see supplier ID as a parameter for this, right? So it doesn't make sense for me. So what we can do is, for this, we have to write another extra query for this. That's the only way. So what we can do is very simple. So I can make use of the same query here. I can just use this query. Okay. So what you do is go to your data template XML, right? So initially we have data query like this, right? This was the existing one. I'll copy this particular SQL statement, and here I'll just mention q underscore param details. Okay. And here I'll select this information and vendor. It seems that repeatedly I'm executing the same query, but this is how it is designed. And there could be a possible way of achieving an effective way, but as it is a training sample, I don't want to get much deeper about performance and all these things, but just try to understand how can we achieve something when you have a requirement to display parameter values like that. Okay. So now query just add up like this, and in the data structure, what you do is copy the existing group and just rename it, because typing everything is very tough. Okay. Don't try to type it. It's of no use because there is no learning in this if you just type it everything, right? Just copy your group name here and mention your particular, I'll just say G param details, and what I would like to display, we'd like to get the vendor name, right? So it doesn't matter because it is part of this group, so you'll not have any confusion also. Now what we have changed, we have changed our data template. So I have to upload data template. So search it, XXABC, 1 minute. Go XXABC supplier with parameter, this one, and re-upload the data template file. Data dm.xml, apply. Let's rerun the report and see whether it will work like that or not. right? This time I selected a different supplier name. That's the reason it is having the vendor ID as 600. Let's click on view output and see whether what it will display. Okay, it's still displaying 600, right? Why? Because we have not changed our template yet, right? Because I require latest XML, then only I can change it. So now I ran the report with my latest data template. I got the latest XML. Now click on diagnostics, view XML. Now, if you observe, I have the information about our list G parameter details also, so that I can make use of this information in our data, in our RTF template. So I'll resave it. And now what I do is re-upload this data here, data load XML data, so that now here you can just either again you can simply click on insert field. There are different approaches available. What I do is I'll just delete this existing one, click on insert. I'll just click on field. Here if you observe, it is showing G parameter details also, right? You can just select only that field and click on insert. This will also work. Okay, if it is now, if this particular list is having multiple records, then this approach will not work. But if it is in our case, it will have only one record, right? That's the reason I selected like this directly. Okay, now save it. Now what we have to do, we have to re-upload our template. So it's repeated steps, because you cannot achieve everything in a single step. We have to go with n number of iterations. It's not that much easy. Okay, suppliers with parameters template. Now re-upload the template here, RTF, apply. Now rerun the report again. X6 ABC supplier with parameter 3M healthcare. Okay, submit. That's it. Okay, let's see. Perfect, right? So the same way you can achieve, if your particular report is having multiple parameters, the same way what you can do is you may require to write multiple queries, because using a single query you may not achieve it. What you can do, what we generally do is we'll write subqueries with from dual, so that like you can write a single, so you can just have a single this particular, what you say, single grouping for especially for the parameter section. So rather than having individual group for each particular query, it's very tough for you when you want to work with just simply displaying the parameter details. You can have a single query. Like I'll just show you one example. Now let us, what I can do is select from dual, right? So I'll just say select param1. Let us, I'll just say text p1 from dual. Assume this is not a dual. Okay, this is for the p1, right? This is for parameter 1. I'll just say select p2 from dual. This is for parameter 2. Like this you can try to achieve it. Okay, I'll just say this is for p1 and this is for parameter 2. So you can have n number of subqueries like this, and you can make use of this particular query, total query, as your parameter related information query, and then you can try to achieve it, and you can have a single grouping like that. Okay, so in the next session we'll discuss more about this particular samples, but right now this is a very simple report with only one parameter. Okay, thank you.